Hi BookTube, Chelsea the Reading Outlaw here to do the second part of my library loot. So let's jump right into it because there be a lot of books in this one. Alright, first up is The Art of Asking by Amanda Palmer, subtitle How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Let People Help. I know some people who absolutely love this book. I know some people who absolutely loathe this book. And the same can be said for Amanda Palmer herself as an artist, as a person. I'm doing myself kind of the duty and the honor of checking it out because I've heard good things about it from a couple of reputable people. But if it absolutely starts to bug the shit out of me, I'm totally fine to DNF it within 50 pages. Next up is a book that I could not be more anxious to get to. It is going on the very top of my August TBR. It is The Grace Keepers by Christy Logan. I also just want to say that I absolutely hate this cover, and I like the UK cover even more with like the stars and the people on the boat. This is about a basically. I'm trying to think of like the best way. It's a Scottish myths basically, and a circus performers, and she is basically it's about a girl who buries people at sea, and this is a land separated between the people who live on the land and the people who live on the sea. I obviously don't know much about it because I just sat here and blubbered at the inside cover for an awkwardly long amount of time, but I do know that Jen, the bookseller, absolutely loved it, and when I watched her do an interview with Christy Logan, I was absolutely floored by the author's persona and carriage and way of expressing herself, and I just could not be more excited to get to Grace Keepers. Next up, we have All the Rage, which is a YA novel that deals with rape and rape culture and being a rape victim. I've heard this talked about several times by Kelly Jensen, who writes for Stacked and also Book Riot, and who is, in my opinion, kind of the queen of all things YA when it comes to bookish writing on the internet. Her word alone enough is plenty to get me to pick it up, but also the subject matter is one that I've always kind of carried near and dear to my heart for several different reasons. And so I am waiting for a time to get into this that I feel like I am going to be able to handle it because, as is probably obvious, there are several trigger warnings for rape and sexual violence in this book, and that is something that I'm going to kind of have to prepare myself to deal with. But I'm still really looking forward to picking up All the Rage because I hear the subject matter is beautifully, beautifully handled. Next up, I have Conversion by Katherine Howe. This is a culty book, basically. I am super into books about cult-like things or odd things. Essentially, this kind of takes the Salem witch trials and updates them, and now we are at a private high school where a group of girls are behaving very oddly and they're blaming supernatural forces, and one of the girls does a little history and realizes that the school that they're at is built on the old Salem lot where all of this happened, and so she's wondering if it's true possession, if something weird really is going on, or if there's kind of some culty popular girl inside circle still weird but not supernaturally weird thing happening. I've heard that it's supposed to be absolutely fantastic. The Salem witch trial thing alone was enough that I picked it up. That's the whole reason I picked it up to begin with. Plus, I love that cover. I just think there's something so creepy about the bird on the thorn branch. So that's by Conversion by Katherine Howe, and I will update you guys later if I end up liking it and getting to it. By the way, for those of you who never watched these videos before, I rarely get to all of the videos that I show you guys, but I'm a reader who likes to have options, and so that's why I bring home so many. Up next, I have a couple of graphic novels I want to show you. The first one is Satan's Prep, and the inside cover basically blurbs it as being Dante's Inferno meets The Breakfast Club. So if that's not enough to sell you, hopefully the art style would be. I just love it. I love the heavier lines. I love the good colors. I love the darker, or the contrast between the shadows. I just think it's going to be really, really interesting. That's a really great tagline. I haven't heard anything about this novel or this author, Gabe Guarente, but I was new at on my library's graphic novel shelf, so I went ahead and picked it up. Also in the graphic novel arena, I have Lazarus 1, which I saw P.T. Hilton talk about on his channel, and when I saw that my library had the first one, I immediately ran downstairs and grabbed it before anybody else got the opportunity. The art style is Not quite as much what I prefer. I prefer more of what I just showed you in Satan's Prep with those heavier lines and more solid colors and stuff. These are what I would consider kind of sketchier and lighter handled art, which is fine. The story is, really obviously what's going to be the biggest selling point, but that is one thing that I've noticed kind of from the outset. I don't really know much how the series is going to go. Basically, this takes place in a world where all of your wealth comes from all of your power. And within each like family, there's one person who holds all of that wealth. They're your Lazarus. They are the best person in every family. They are genetically the best. They are the strongest, the smartest, the fastest. They possess the most money, and they kind of stand for the family. They serve as the protector. They serve as the kind of face for and defender of the family. And each family has one of these people, and it's called the Lazarus. And it's about a Lazarus. This book is about a female Lazarus named Forever and her story and kind of how she develops and goes through her life as a Lazarus. I don't really want to say too much because I don't want to spoil anything, and I haven't actually read them yet. But I'm really excited because I just think that that's a really awesome concept. And lastly, on the graphic novel front, I have the first two volumes of Alex and Ada, which, if you don't know, this is a book about Alex, who is a computer programmer who basically gets a realistic android, an A5, named Ada, and kind of falls in love with her but feels weird about it. It's written by Jonathan Luna and Sarah Vaughn, and it's basically just about the story of Alex as he unlocks this realistic android lady, and their relationship starts to develop. As you can, I don't know if you can see from the cover art, but I think that these novels are absolutely gorgeous. They're just titled Volume 1 and Volume 2, by the way. They don't have subtitles. I think these graphic novels are really basic, but I think that that serves it well because this is also, I think, a graphic novel that's really dialogue heavy for the story. So I think that not having quite as much going on in the illustrations is super helpful. But that is volume 1 and 2 of Alex and Ada. And the last couple that I wanted to get to before we kind of say adios. The first one is Neil Gaiman's Trigger Warnings. This is his most recent short story collection, which is really interesting because he got into kind of a little bit of heat and controversy about the title, which, came about after some Twitter discussion about college campuses and college syllabuses using trigger warnings and trigger warnings for certain content appearing more and more kind of coming across his path. And so I just think that that was a really interesting kind of take on it. I really like Neil Gaiman's short fiction. I think I might like his short fiction and his graphic novels almost more than some of his longer works. So I'm just really, really thinking that this one's going to pan out as his most recent short fiction collection. I don't know anything else about it. I don't know why the cover image is what it is or anything about the stories inside it. So I will report back when I get to that one. I also have Xinjin Lu's Three-Body Problem. This is the first in a series of Chinese science fiction novels about first contact with aliens, and I just heard really good things about it from Elizabeth at Sarah's at Books and Junk. Books and Pieces. Yes. Sorry, guys. But this is an absolutely supposed to be fantastic science fiction novel, and I am a bigger fantasy reader than I am a sci-fi reader, so I thought that this would be a really good way to get into a little bit of harder science fiction before I get into the last book I'm going to show you, which is Neal Stephenson's Seven Eves, which is supposed to be very hard science fiction and is supposed to be one of Neal Stephenson's more complex works, and I don't know much about it other than I've been seeing it on the YouTube channels of a lot of people who I really trust, and I am really nervous to open it because I don't read a lot of science fiction, but I've heard good things, so I'm confident that it'll all work out. that is the second half of my library haul, you guys. That about covers everything that I've been bringing home with me for the past couple weeks. And you guys should probably, or will probably end up seeing a fair amount of these books floating around on my channel in the next month or two. All right, you guys, like, subscribe, and as always, comment down below to let me know what you think about the books that I'm reading, where I should start, what I should skip, and what you've been picking up recently. Have a good day, and I will see you guys around the internet. Bye.